People are asking, what is judo law? Judo is a martial art that uses the opponent's strength to defeat them by not opposing it directly. Gary C. Johnson created a method of practicing law based on that principle. It worked so well he named it judo law. To see the results, go to GaryCJohnson.com. To have Gary and his team of judo lawyers go to work for you, dial #HURT. This is an advertisement.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. Hello, everyone. Welcome into Simply the Law. I'm Keith Casebolt, my dear friend, Gary C. Johnson.
Wonderful to be here. Hey, friends, how you doing? You getting out a little bit now? Wandering around? Let's hope. Isn't it wonderful to be alive? Isn't it wonderful to have escaped so far? Whew. We're doing good. My friends, we're doing real good. Tonight I want to talk to you about some different things. I may even talk to you a little bit about the law. Tonight and in the morning. We've talked on the program before about the 4 agreements, one of which is be impeccable with the word. And then I got to telling Keith, and I've told him many times over the years, that all the self-help things that are telling us how to be better people, if you go to Proverbs, you can find most of it in there. So I got to thinking about impeccable with the word. What does Proverbs have to say about being impeccable with the word? In other words, being careful what you say. And Keith actually in his little library had this book, Mike Murdoch's The Wisdom Commentary, where he talks about different things. One of those sections is words, where he talks about the different things in Proverbs where it says about words. Remember how dangerous words can be and how harmful they can be. I bet you that somebody that's watching this program right now has used words to the point to where you've hurt the feelings of someone that's with you. Guarantee it. And you know why I know that? It just popped in my brain. So therefore, fix it. Take it back, say you're sorry, and wish you'd never said it, and wish you'd adhered to the 24-hour rule before you opened your mouth, okay? Yes, you are the one that's wrong, in case you were asking. So make it right. So I'm going to read to you a little bit about what Proverbs, in Mike Murdoch's book, had to say about being impeccable with the word and how dangerous words can be. Words, chapter 51. Any man who controls his mouth is literally protecting his own life. Now what's Proverbs? Proverbs 13:3 says, he that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life. Right? What's Proverbs say about talking too much? Proverbs 13:3. He that openeth his lips shall have destruction. Then number 5, he said, right words can turn an angry man into a friend, and wrong words can turn a friend into an enemy. Proverbs 15:1, what does it say about it? A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. Right? Right here in the Bible, Proverbs. Be impeccable with the word. Number 6, he says, your words reveal you are wise or a fool. Uh-oh. What's Proverbs have to say about it? Proverbs 15:2. The tongue of the wise useth knowledge aright, but the mouth of fools poureth out foolishness. What's Proverbs 15:4 say? A wholesome tongue is a tree of life. Proverbs 15:7. The lips of the wise disperse knowledge. Right? Then we have Proverbs 15:23. What's it say? A man hath joy by the answer of his mouth, and a word spoken is due season. How good is it? Then he goes on about how cautious the wise are with their words. Proverbs 17:27. He that hath knowledge spareth his words. In other words, that goes back to the old saying that if you stay silent, people may think you're a fool. If you open your mouth, they'll know it.
Gary, these are all so good. And, you know, you started out talking about the self-help books. In the little studio that you and I do the radio on, there's the Dale Carnegie books, the Earl Nightingale books, the Think and Grow Rich books, the Four Agreements. All of these books have sections on words. And after you pointed out that you said, Keith, I'll bet you everything they've talked about came from Proverbs, you're absolutely right. Even down to the point about you could lose your life through and by your words.
By opening your big mouth. I'm going to read you just a couple more things on Proverbs, on what it has to say about words and how dangerous they can be. And hopefully, my friend, that use words that hurt somebody's feelings, you'll fix it and take it back and be more careful with the words that you're using next time. Be impeccable with the word, right? Okay, what else does he have to say? And what else has Proverbs got to say about words? There's a whole section on it, because if there's one thing the good Lord knew, it was words are dangerous. Proverbs 18:8, the words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost part of the belly. Think about that, right there in Proverbs. In other words, wrong words can wound deeply. Then what does Proverbs say about opening your mouth before you speak? Proverbs 15:28, the heart of the righteous studieth to answer. In other words, they think about what they're going to say before they say it, if they're righteous. Then Proverbs says the tongue is probably the root of all troubles. What does it say about it? Proverbs 51:23. Who keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from troubles. Proverbs 23:19. Speak not in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of thy words. Now, isn't that amazing?
You know, I love every one of those, and it really puts the importance on words. We know that from the lessons you've taught us about the law, about how your words can and will be used against you, what it can do to your case. But what about to our friends out there that's saying, but Gary, all I said was this, and I was trying to help them with my words, and they got mad at me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Put yourself in the other person's shoes and you'll figure it out, I promise you. Okay? Now, there's two, I want to end with two of the things in Proverbs because I think they're very important ones, and that's why I saved them to last. One is Proverbs 16:24, about the pleasant words, using them. Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones. Think about that. Then, the one that's really important, I want you to think about this, it is Proverbs 16:27. The quality of your words reveals the quality of your heart. Now, what is exactly the words in Proverbs? An ungodly man diggeth up evil, and in his lips there is as a burning fire. You can read the heart of any person by listening to the words they are speaking about others.
Wow.
Now, why did I always say never criticize, condemn, and complain?
Yeah.
When you're absolutely talking and saying negative things about others, people can see inside your own heart. And there they will see the bitterness. So don't do it.
So, Gary, in today's world, when we hear people say, oh, my words were taken out of context, or you misunderstood what I said, or I didn't mean it to be taken that way, this verse that you just read said your words reveal your heart.
And that's why it is so critically important, my friends, to wait 24 hours to respond to anything that has an emotional content to it. In other words, if somebody says something and you start flaring up, calm down and say, I'll get back to you in 24 hours. Always be different when you get back to them in 24 hours, and you may save yourself all kinds of grief if you use the 24-hour rule. We're going to take a break, and we'll come right back, and I'm going to talk to you maybe a little bit about some law. Who knows?
Gary is right about the 24-hour rule. Your response will always be different, but here's something else about it. It will always be better. It'll never be worse. I promise you that. Stay with us. Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson comes back after you see this. Eastern Kentucky, southern West Virginia, and southwest Virginia. It can be a tough territory to reach when it comes to marketing. We can help. We can also help you find your identification. And we have plenty of services to do it and a lot of experience behind us, over 37 years. In fact, we've either booked or sold nearly $70 million in advertising in this region. You need a new voice, a new idea, a new concept? Casebolt Marketing. We're ready to go to work for you today. Our motto is nothing happens until you make it happen. So let's get started today. Welcome back into Simply the Law. We're under the bright lights, and during the break I told Gary, I said, you know, I think the bright lights, I'm starting to sweat. And he smiled and said, Keith, some people can take the pressure, some people can't. So you can see my friend is fine. So it's all about me. Great opening segment, and that really put the emphasis on words, didn't it?
Keith, actually, my friends and I, we don't sweat, we glow, right? Keith, he sweats. Let's go to the computer. Some things I want to talk to my friends about. There's our number if any of you need to call us. Lexington, number 859-268-4300. Would love to hear from you folks down in Lexington. GaryCJohnson.com. In general, please make sure you have underinsurance that protects you and your family. And a lady came in the other day and met with me that had been in a wreck, and she was so proud of herself when she pulled her policy out. She said, I got my underinsurance just like you told me to, Gary.
You know, I thought of you the other day because I saw that commercial on television that says, we only sell you what you need. And the first thing I thought of was, I wonder if underinsurance was included in that.
Guarantee it's not.
Yeah.
And it's very inexpensive. Well, I've talked about it so many years. Just make sure you check your policy, check your deck sheet, and that you have underinsurance, okay? Now let's go back to computer. I'll talk to you about the law just a little bit. But first I want to talk to you a little bit about common sense. The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. Dale Carnegie. That is a fact. Those of you that think you've won an argument, you didn't. The other person is still mad at you, okay?
And I don't even mean to interrupt you on this, but I've talked to people about this before, and they have said, but you don't understand. I had to set them straight. I had to tell them they were wrong. And I said, obviously you haven't listened to Gary Reed from the Dale Carnegie book. You didn't have to.
And how did you know they were wrong?
Yes. And did you win when it was all over with? The answer is always no. What was the little poem you taught me? A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still.
Right, absolutely. Okay, back to computer. One more little common sense before I get on to stuff. Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view, and if you do, you will not get in that argument. Dale Carnegie, okay? Now, did you guys know and gals that driving is a privilege, not a right?
I would imagine if you asked 100 people that question, they would say, we have the right to be on the road.
It's a privilege.
Yeah.
You do not have an absolute right to be on the highway. When you're on the highway, you have an absolute obligation to obey the law. Absolute. The rules of the road. What are some of the rules of the road? I looked up a few interesting ones to share with my friends. You have to register an automobile. You have to have insurance. You have to have a driver's license, right? Everyone watching knows that. Therefore, if there's a wreck, there's insurance. There's a lawsuit from that wreck, there's insurance. Simple, right? 1, 2, 3. Now, KRS 189, these are the statutes. Kentucky Revised Statute 189-420. On mountain roads, a driver approaching any curve with a view less than 200 feet must sound their horn. Now let's talk about that. Do you think anybody in the world does that?
No.
Now that needs to be taken off the books because nobody does it.
So,
And nobody ever will do it. How do you know what 200 feet is? How are you going to measure it?
and how can you do that when you're traveling at a speed of 30, 40, 50 miles per hour? Yeah.
That's a ridiculous statute, but it's still on the books. I just thought I'd share it with you folks so you'd know it. There's a couple other interesting ones that you'll see that I'm going to share with you. Okay, back to computer. KRS 189-450. No person shall stop a vehicle, leave it standing, or cause it to stop, or to be left standing upon any portion of the roadway. Period. Except, there's some exceptions to this. What are they? Does not apply to disabled vehicles. If your car breaks down, you can't help it. Or vehicles that have been stopped by police officers, or common carriers, buses and school buses, because they have to stay on the road to let their people come and go. And any vehicle required to stop by reason of something being in the middle of the road, an obstruction, okay? That's a reasonable, decent statute that makes sense. Now, what does Kentucky Revised Statute 189-459 say? A handicap tag allows a 2-hour extension for parking that is limited. Now, what does that mean? You pull up someplace that says 2-hour parking. If you have a handicap sticker in your car, you get 4 hours. That's what that means. You don't have to have a handicap parking space for this law to apply. Now, if they ticket you for being over 2 hours and you have your handicap sticker, you have an absolute defense. You're not guilty because you have 4 hours instead of 2.
Gary, also, let's talk about the courtesy. There's a lot of people that have their handicap stickers. They need those stickers. They need those parking places. One of the worst things that anybody can do is to pull their vehicle into that space when you do not have a sticker and you don't need that just because you're in a hurry.
The reasonable thing to do in any parking lot, if you're not handicapped, is to park as far away from the door as you can. Unless it's raining, then it might be a little bit different. Because you're going to get the exercise of the walk to the door. And that's going to benefit you. People say, oh, I want to get a spot that's real close to the door. Why? There's no benefit to you. It may save you a few steps that when you're older you'll be so grateful that you took because you won't be sitting around where you can't move, okay? So practice. Way out in the parking lot, park your car, walk to the door. Simple. It's good for your health. If it's raining, get the closest one you can find. Let's go back to the computer. I want to talk to you about that. KRS, Kentucky Revised Statute 189-505. Motor vehicle racing, drag racing, or any other form of competition is prohibited on a highway, period. Most people know that. Some people don't obey it. Rules of the road, KRS 189-510. No person, this is a great one, no person shall ride a horse, nor shall owner consent to the racing of his horse on a highway.
Now, do you think that one is a little bit old and maybe should possibly be taken off the books?
That one probably could come off the books, but I've seen horses on the road.
I have. That's another question right now. We're in the summertime. There's bicycles, and a lot of people have asked, do they have the right to be on the highway?
Yes.
So they have as much right as the vehicle.
Well, no, they're smaller than the vehicle.
Yes, well, yeah, we understand that.
Now, in other words, who's got the right of way? You or the semi?
Yeah.
Semi's always got the right of way
What
because
is
they're bigger than you.
My old friend that was the engineer that says the train always wins every tie at the crossing, always wins. But you have pointed out before, though, Gary, that we don't see people on bicycles. We don't see people on motorcycles because when we look, we're looking for a truck, we're looking for a car, and we don't see these people.
If you're brave, right, now you can't ride a bicycle on the interstate, no way. But on these other little roads you can. Be careful. That's all I have to say. Is because there's a lot of people out there that don't pay a bit of attention, they're distracted. And when you get in a bicycle versus a car, bicycle always loses, always. And you can't overcome those injuries. So just be careful. Let's take a break, we'll come right back.
Good information about a situation that could be dangerous. It's summertime, so take Gary's advice on that. Stay with us. Simply the Law and Gary C. Johnson back right after this. Who really knows which lawyer you should choose? Other lawyers know. They've invited Gary C. Johnson to teach his method of judo law in Denver, Atlanta, New Orleans, and across the nation. Gary used judo law to set the record for the largest personal injury verdict in the history of Kentucky. Now, which lawyer should you choose? The choice is clear. Gary C. Johnson. Dial pound HURT. This is an advertisement. Welcome back into Simply the Law. Some of the rules you're showing us, we found a couple that could have been outdated, but most of us don't really know the rules of the highway. As we were in that break, I was thinking of a question to ask you. When a police officer pulls a vehicle over on the 4-lane, is it a law that we are to get in the other lane, or is it courtesy for us to move to the other lane?
It's the law, you have to move over into the other lane.
So you can be pulled for that by
Absolutely.
driving too close?
Yes.
I don't know that most people know that.
They do now, we just told them, right?
Yes.
Okay, folks, let's go back. We talked about the horse on the road, right? Let's go back to computer. Well, you can't ride your horse on the road, and you can't race your horse on the road. Well, that's maybe a little outdated, but here's something that's not outdated. KRS 189-515. What about an ATV since it's summer and everybody's out on their ATVs? What does it say? What's the law say? No ATV can be operated on a roadway or on the right-of-way to a roadway, period. Okay? Beside the road or on the road. KRS 189-515. No ATV shall be operated on public or private property without the consent of the landowner or governmental agency. Now that is violated all the time.
You know, listen, I didn't know the first one. I honestly thought if you were riding beside of the highway, on the fringe, but not on the highway, that you were okay. According to that statute you just read,
Not on the right-of-way.
you're not.
Nope. Did you learn something today, Keith?
I'm afraid, along with all of my fellow ATV riders, yeah, we may have all just learned something that we didn't know.
Okay, let's get back to the computer. KRS 189-515. Now this is ATVs we're talking about. No person under 16 shall operate an ATV with an engine size greater than 90 cubic centimeters. So basically when you see ATVs out there, there's very few of them that have an engine size less than 90 cubic centimeters. Now if you have an ATV and you allow a 16-year-old to operate it and it's greater than 90 cubic centimeters and that 16-year-old gets hurt, you may very well find yourself in a lawsuit because you're not supposed to let them have it.
Wow.
Okay? KRS 189-515. No person under the age of 12 shall operate an ATV with engine size exceeding 70 cubic centimeters. How many times have you seen little boys or girls out operating these things when you know that the engine exceeds 70 cubic centimeters all the time. Some grown-up put them in it.
I'm going to bet you right now that our viewing audience, all of them, are saying we did not know that. Because in our area, with our trails, we have an unbelievable amount of ATVs, side-by-sides, and there's a lot of young people that are operating those.
I guess what I'm saying to you adults that are allowing these children, 12 or 16 or whatever, to ride these ATVs, get yourself some good insurance. Because if they get hurt, you are exposed. Because you're not supposed to allow them to be on them, especially if you own it. And you know no 12-year-old owns one, right? Okay? I'm just telling you, folks, I'm trying to save you some grief. Let's go back to computer. I may have another couple of these that I need to do here. Rules of the road, KRS 189-520. Driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs is prohibited. All of you know that, right? Well, what's the limit? Look at this. If alcohol concentration is less than 0.05, it is presumed the person's not drunk. Well, when do they perceive the person's drunk? If alcohol concentration is more than 0.08, then the person is presumed to be under the influence. And my friends, it takes very, very little alcohol to get a 0.08 in your blood system. Period. In your bloodstream, I mean.
Gary, even the 0.05, if you were in an accident and you were at 0.05, you would still be considered under the influence. No. You would not?
No, you'll be considered not under the influence.
At 0.05?
At 0.05 or less.
Okay.
Okay? Let's see if I've got some more. Back to computer. No person shall provide an automobile to a driver knowing that the driver is in an intoxicated condition. In other words, just like giving a minor an ATV, if you give your keys to a car to somebody you know has been drinking and they wreck, you're going to be responsible. It's just that simple.
You know, you started out this program with the information that all of these rules back up that it is not a right to be on the highway. It is a privilege.
That's right.
To be on the highway, and for that privilege, you've got to follow all these rules.
And of those of you that have motorcycles, go to the computer right quick. I hope you got time to read that. Personal injury protection, no fault, is not put on your insurance policy automatically.
Wow.
So go back, look at your policy, and make sure you have no fault. If ever you needed it, it's on a motorcycle.
Great information, my friend, and check out Proverbs for the wisdom about words. A great lesson tonight. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, Gary and I look forward to seeing you next week, right here at this same time. Thank you for watching Simply the Law, a program created by Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.